Hello again, welcome to The Way I Do It. Behind me is a John Deere Gator HPX. It's about a 2005 model, and it's got a Yanmar 3TN V70. It's a 3-cylinder diesel engine. I picked this baby up at auction for $900. Well, it starts in good weather, but she's a little hard starting in the cold. So we're going to go over a few things right now to show what to look for on these Yanmar engines to try and get them to start better. Yeah, let's take a look. First and foremost, you need a good battery. So this does look like a nasty battery. It's a few years old, but let's see what condition it's really in. We can't judge it by the age. I'm using my old Medtronic's electronic battery tester. The Medtronic's works with a small computer inside it, and it puts micro load on the battery to establish its condition. So this battery is tested by cold cranking app, and it's actually a pretty good size 500 cold cranking amp battery. So let's see what it says. 453 cold cranking amps, good battery. Now with these Yanmar diesel engines, and if they're hard starting and everything's working right, you'll see white smoke coming out the exhaust when it's cranking but not firing. So a diesel engine needs a couple of things. It needs to be able to compress the gas and create the heat to make it fire, as there's no spark in them. To compress the gas and make it so it'll fire, it needs a certain RPM. So it needs a good battery, and it needs a good starter. And in the cold weather, a lot of diesel engines also need glow plugs. The way the glow plugs work is you turn the key on, and the glow plug controller will close. It's a very simple system. That's got a built-in timer. So this is your glow plug controller. And what this does is just simply close a link between the battery and the glow plugs. It's got a built-in timer, so it will disengage after a set amount of time. The light on your dash is actually directly wired to that timer, so when the glow plug timer disengages, your light will go out. So we'll turn this one on. There you see the light come on, and then it quickly goes. I did replace the glow plug timer, so perhaps there's more to it than I know, but when the key comes on, you also need to touch that to make sure it's functioning. I mean, having the light come on probably means it's functioning, but yeah, you need to check that. Now, if you have an older unit like mine, I replaced that timer, although the old one was still functioning, because it has contact points inside it, and after a certain number of cycles, even though the contact points are closing and passing electricity, they may not carry the current that is needed to operate the glow plugs. So here's the timer pulled out, and that shows the pin numbers, and that's really about all it shows on this timer. Now if we look at the schematic for the timer, you'll see that pin number 4 goes directly to the 3 glow plugs. Pin number 2 comes up here, so it's the 4th line up. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we follow that over to a 30 amp fuse. Okay, so that's where the power comes from. So if you check number 4 against ground, you should have the 4 glow plugs. So as a derivation of Ohm's law, we know that resistors in parallel are proportional to the inverse total of the resistors. So that's a derivation of Ohm's law. So then the total resistance is the inverse of the 3 resistance values for the glow plugs, which in turn ends up being 1/3 the value of any individual glow plug. So I have a glow plug here that's brand new. It's a Chinese one, but it's brand new. Let me check the resistance. Okay, there you go. It's kind of bouncing around a little bit between 0.8 ohms and 1 ohm. Okay, I've got a different meter here. Let me check my leads. So my leads are actually showing, yeah, 1/10 of an ohm. Now checking it with this meter, I'm getting 1.4 ohms. Now I've also got this Simpson meter, and this is probably the most accurate meter made. Unfortunately, my battery's dead for doing resistance. So anyhow, after that digression, if we say our resistance is even 1, let's call it 1, then our total R is 1/3 of that, or 0.3. And of course the range could go, if if we had 0.8 to 1.5, so we could go like 0.25 to 0.5. So let's check our resistance on the apparatus. So there you see, I've got 0. If I remove the ground, there. So what that 0 would indicate is a dead short, not an open. You might expect it to feel open, but it also would feel short. So I've removed my positive cable here to get in there and work on it. That 0, a dead short, may just possibly indicate why the short duration of the glow plug timer would be in place, but I'm not sure. There's no indication in the wiring diagram to show how that timer operates and if it can sense the amount of current that goes through here. I don't think it does, but we'll see if it acts differently with new glow plugs. So here's a time lapse of removing the valve cover and changing the glow plugs. You have to remove the valve cover, which has the intake manifold attached, because it covers the glow plugs. So you see I take out the long bolts toward the left-hand side of the picture and the short ones on the front. I slide it out from under the brake cables, removing the wires and whatnot. Now here I tried to show checking the individual glow plugs to see if they were functional. None of them were. They had really high resistance. And then I checked the wire going back, and that had no resistance. So one thing you want to check out on your glow plugs is the length. The length of the bottom, the length of the top. So if we line up the threads, you can see that this aftermarket glow plug is taller. In most cases it doesn't matter, but on this 3TN V70 engine, the intake manifold is built into the valve cover and it goes over top of the glow plug. So this glow plug will actually touch. I'm just going to take my cutoff wheel and just lop this right off. Now on the other end, you can see that this clearly is a failed glow plug. See that hole? So yeah, that wasn't working. If you caught it on the meter, they were all in the mega ohms, at least, if not open. So yeah, and then I checked the wires to make sure there was no continuity with it disconnected, and there is no continuity, so there's no short in the wire. So I'm going to lop this off and I'm going to put them all in. I'm going to check the valve lash that I've got it off, just to make sure it doesn't feel too sloppy and it doesn't feel to not have any lash, because you certainly have to have some clearance on the valves, and you certainly don't want to have too much or you'll start mushrooming over the valve. So yeah. So there, now I've actually made it shorter. I'll do that to the other two. Put it back together. Installation is the reverse of disassembly. I put all the glow plugs in with my Milwaukee ratchet, tightened them all to snug, took a little brake clean to blow some of the debris out of the way, put all the bolts in the correct location, put the little guard on for the brake cables, and pretty much done. Oh,
put on the air intake. Now I'm done.
Okay, so we got that done. Now let's take a look at the resistance of the new set of glow plugs, which should be right there. So it's still not registering what I want to see, because I'd like to see 0.5, half a, yeah. Let's rest assured that the old ones were burned up, the new ones were hopefully good ones from China. And Blitzen is with us today. Hi there, Blitzen. Another thing I want to tell you too is I put a new starter in. The other starter was acting like it had a bad Bendix. It was replaced a few years ago. It had a record of having a remanufactured John Deere starter, but I'm afraid that maybe in using starting fluid to start it, it might have backfired and bent the armature, and that would give a appearance of a bad Bendix, because it would crank a couple of times and then disengage, or crank and disengage. So, all right, let's get the battery connected here again. I previously cleaned these terminals, so no concerns there. Right. At 20 years old, all these plastic things can become inflexible, but yeah, I guess I got that one back on there. Okay then, install our new
Glow plug controller.
Okay. Just about out of battery. Let's see what the glow plugs do now with new ones. Turn it on. They go out. And it fires. So we'll turn it on. It fires. Nice. Okay, folks. Chug-a-lug-lug. That's replacing the glow plugs in this Yanmar engine on this John Deere. Please subscribe. It doesn't hurt you and it helps me a lot. Thanks a lot. That's the way I do it.